This is the design brief for the E34 M5 Redesign. Now this to me is one of the coolest sedans ever built. Back in the early to mid 90s it was this BMW M5 and then you had the Mercedes 500E, and those two sedans were the two big European powerful sedans that were dominating the market back in the day. But I like them both, but I really love this E34 M5. And later on, I'm going to tell you the story of why I love it so much. I think you want to stick around for that. So what we're going to do here is to clean everything up. I want to keep the proportions of the car, because this is one of the best proportioned sedan or car ever. It's very clean and it's very German, but there are a few things we can do to make it modern. So we can remove this trim right here. I want to extend this fender down here. So this curvature that you have right here, I want that to go down a bit further down there. That means removing this bumper as well. We're going to change this trim, and then we're going to change this bumper into something more modern. I don't want to make it crazy like the E30 3 Series that I redesigned a while ago. I'm gonna keep this 5 Series, since it's bigger, it's more mature. I want to keep it more elegant and clean when it comes to the redesign. And obviously these lights and the grille, I want to remove the chrome part right here and make that kind of matte black. Also update the lights into some LEDs with maybe some angel eyes going on around here. I'm going to keep this amber color of the indicator because I think it looks good. If I remove that, I think it's going to take away too much of the original fascia of this E34, so I'm gonna keep that and at the same time work a little bit on the greenhouse and make these lists and stuff up here more integrated with the body of the car. And this whole side, I'm gonna change this as well, maybe add some modern touches, modern design features that we have in BMWs today and implement that in this car. Same thing with the door handles. Update them and make them look like something you can find on a car today. This is a 95 model and I'm gonna tell you how you can see that later on. But from 88 to 94 it looked a certain way, but then in 95 they made this tiny change in the front that made a huge difference. I'm gonna show you all about that later in the video as well. Right now let's jump into the redesign of this beautiful August Blau BMW M5 E34. So I want to tell you the story of how I was introduced to the BMW E34 M5 and why I love it so much. This must have been early to mid 90s, something like that. It was in Sweden, of course, where I grew up, and it was summertime. And Swedish summertime is a special time. It's not too hot and the sun pretty much never sets because we're so far up north. So it can be midnight and it's still sun out. And when you have this kind of weather and during the summers, there are a lot of car meets going on. And we used to have these car meets and car drag races in the commercial areas of the town. And then the cops would show up and everybody was just chill and step out of their cars, and like everybody was parked and didn't do any racing, although the smoke was still in the air. But the cops of course couldn't do anything about it because no one was actually racing. And I even remember seeing a Delta Integrale there with an Audi RS2 and all of these cool cars. So I was going with my dad to his friend's house. And I kind of knew his son. He was about 10 to 15 years older than me. And we were driving there and we were about to park. And outside on the parking lot is his son. And he had this Avus Blau M5 with these silver accents, just as the one we're redesigning right here. And when I saw it, I was blown away. And he was showing me around the car and showing me all the features and talking about the rims and the wheels, and popped the hood and showed me the engine. And you know, as a kid who loves cars, this was an M5 and I only saw these in the magazines and on car shows. I wasn't expecting to see one right here on the way to my dad's friend, and then boom, all of a sudden there's an M5 outside. And not only was he showing me the car, he then said, "Would you like to take a ride with me?" And of course I said yes, and I couldn't be more excited. So he took me on this ride around the block, and I'm glad my mom wasn't there, because if she would have seen the driving that we did, she probably would not approve. But I'm really happy that he took me out on that drive, because to me, when you're a kid, you kind of experience things differently, and if you have a really good experience like that, it really can change the trajectory of where your life is going to go after that. And that's pretty much what happened to me. So if you have an exotic car, or just a cool car in general, and you know some kids that love cars, keep in mind that an experience like this can create a memory of a lifetime for them, just like it did with me. And what makes this story even more special to me is that my friend with the M5 unfortunately passed away a few years later in a motorcycle accident. I don't think he knew how much that ride in his M5 on that Swedish summer day meant to me, but I will always be grateful for it, and I'm going to remember that day for the rest of my life. The E34 M5 sedan was in production from 1988 to 1995. In addition to the sedan, an M5 Touring model was introduced in 1992, and Touring is what BMW calls all their station wagons. In total, BMW produced 12,254 M5 E34s, out of which only 891 were Touring models. So if you manage to get your hands on an E34 M5 Touring, you might want to hold on to that for a while, since there aren't that many left in the world, and the E34 M5 in general is quickly becoming a valued collector's car. The power came from the inline 6 S38 engine, initially putting out 311 horsepower, but this was later bumped to 335 horsepower in 1992. Although due to emission laws, this update was not available here in the US. And this power output gave the M5 a 0 to 60 time of 5.9 seconds. And this is of course extremely fast for a family sedan back at this time. And the top speed was limited to 250 kilometers an hour, which is the same as 155 miles per hour. All E34 M5s of course came with a manual transmission, something that's rare with new cars today, and I kind of miss it. But I think eventually everybody's going to get used to the paddle shifters. But up until 1994, the E34 M5 had a 5-speed manual, and this was upgraded in 94 to a 6-speed with an overdrive. I personally love the stock wheels of this generation M5. From 88 to 92, the M5 was fitted with 20-inch M system wheels, and these were designed to divert heat from the brake system for better cooling. In 1992, BMW took this design a step further with its throwing stars wheel design. And this design had fins angled in the driving direction to improve cooling even more efficiently. Even though these are very cool wheels and they look really good, my personal favorite BMW wheel of all time is not really BMW, but it's the Alpina B7 wheels. And I love the simple and elegant design of these wheels, and that's the wheel I'm going to go for in this render. One fun fact is that BMW actually created a convertible prototype of the E34 M5. Unfortunately, it was never put in production due to some financial issues at the time. In case you didn't know, I was kind of a weird kid. I was looking at cars even from 5 years old and trying to figure out the design and look for design changes from year to year of the models. And then I would go home and try to sketch what I think the next model would look like. That's just things that I did as a kid. And one of these tiny design changes, the minor detail that was updated for the E34 in 1995, was the slightly wider grille kidneys. To me, this is one of those genius design evolutions of a small, tiny detail, but it had a huge difference in appearance, as you can see right here. It just gives the front fascia a more aggressive and meaner look. And also when you widen the kidneys like this, it also makes the whole car look wider itself. And this of course was one of these details that I noticed as like an 80-year-old, and how a small change like this can have a huge effect on a car design. There are a few things left to do in this redesign to finish up all the details, such as tinting the windows, because that is also one of these tiny changes that will make a huge difference in the appearance. And I'm also working on the shading in the body itself, finishing up some highlights and some burn points. And also we have to do something about these headlights. There's a fine balance if you decide to add angel eyes on your BMW. Some angel eyes just look a bit too aftermarket, and I wanted to keep this as to make it look like it's stock and it's actually a original BMW part. So I'm just gonna make them black for now, and then I'm going to fill in the LEDs that goes around this, and also work on the inside assembly of the headlights themselves to fill in all the details that goes in a headlight. These E34, they have this distinct shoulder line that goes throughout the whole side of the car. And I wanted to emphasize that even more by making it deeper. And I do that by adding some shadows beneath the shoulder line so that it looks like it's an indent there and that it's actually carved into the body of the car. And that kind of goes back to the flame surfacing of BMW design that was introduced with the BMW Z4. I really like how this front air intake in the bumper turned out. Now all I gotta do is finishing up with some highlights here as well and figure out what surfaces is facing up and what surfaces are facing down, and also add some thickness to the edge itself. So right here I'm just working on the final touches of this E34 M5 redesign. I'm going to go back to the headlights now and fill in the details behind the glass. And I only have to do this once, obviously, because all four of them, I'm gonna make them all the same. So I'm gonna take this one when it's ready, copy that, and paste it into the other holes, just like that. And as I said in the beginning, I wanted to keep this amber color of the indicator intact. I'm not gonna change that. All I'm gonna do is update the shape of it so that it looks like it could be an LED indicator instead of just a regular light bulb. One major change is left in this E34 redesign, and that is, of course, the wheels. I want to have the B7 Alpina wheels, and they pop in right here, and I think they look fantastic on this E34. And with that, that's a wrap. I'm going to turn the headlights on right now because it looks cool. I just like to do that as a final touch. And then of course show you the before and after. I hope you enjoyed this video just as much as I enjoyed making it. This was a lot of fun to do this E34. And I'm very happy with the end result of this. It looks classy, it looks elegant, but at the same time it looks very aggressive and modern at the same time. I wish BMW could make something like this. Just take an old design and just modernize it. It would be so cool to see in real life. As always, I hope you have a fantastic day. I'm the Sketch Monkey. And if you like this kind of videos, check out my playlist called Car Makeovers. I have a bunch of these in there. I think you're gonna enjoy them. I hope to see you next time. Take it easy, guys.